All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Profitable Christian Business. I have a returning guest. Sometimes I like my most favorite people. Just kidding. If you haven't been a returning guest, I still like you too. But I have some of my most favorite people come back to the podcast. And one of those people today is Victoria Mondloch. We are going to, one of the reasons I have them come back on the podcast is when Victoria came on, we were just talking about this uh, before we were on air, and I said, I think came around the time the podcast was transitioning from the entrepreneur journey to the profitable Christian business. So I really, at that point, didn't know. I was kind of winging it, right? The structure, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it, but I know I wanted to talk more about faith. So we're definitely going to do that on this particular episode with Victoria. I don't think we dived too far into that last time, but we're also going to talk about her expertise around healthcare consulting and why that could be good for you as a solopreneur, or if you have an established business with around 50 employees or less. We're going to dive into that. We're going to talk about a lot of things. But first of all, Victoria, for those that may have not watched the earlier episode, can you tell them a little bit about yourself?
Well, and thank you, Doug, and thanks for the opportunity to be back here with you. I am a retired wellness physician, and what that means is I'm not simply going to, as you come in, um, or as people came into my office, say, "Oh, you've got this problem, I'm going to give you this prescription." My approach was if you don't feel good and you have an issue or two issues or three issues, what is the root cause? How did you get here? And that's a little bit more of a detective work approach to what's going on with you. But if you think about any other problem that you try to solve, whether it's at home or in your business, you want to go not to just put a band-aid on the problem, you want to go to the root cause to figure out what started this so it doesn't recur. And that's the key to healthcare consulting. Same approach.
Yeah, we're going to dive into that and kind of even talk about what I would like to talk about in when we get to this point is the difference in, we talked a little bit again off air about specialists and why that's a good thing in one way and not so great in another way. So I'm glad we can dive into that. But first, I want to ask just some general getting to know you questions. Let's kind of break the ice, if you will. You and I really don't have to break the ice, but for the audience, because we've gotten to know each other pretty well. But let's start with this. What's one thing you're passionate about outside of medicine that someone might be surprised to learn about you?
Well, I would hope they wouldn't be surprised that they would have the same focus, but my family.
Oh, nice. Yeah. How large is your family?
Three girls,
Hmm.
and we're the type of family that when we go someplace for a weekend, our kids will always go, "Can we come too? I
Hmm.
think we're free." Or we're going on vacation, we're going to go to Florida. We're going to go to the Keys. Great. Give us the dates. Let's see if we can make it work. We're planning a vacation to Ireland, Scotland, which
Hmm.
is the roots of my husband's ancestry. And all three of them went, "Really? When are you going? Maybe we can make it work.
Hmm.
We can come for part of it." So we're that close and we enjoy each other's company enough that it's an extension of everything that we do.
Wow, nice. Yes. We just have one daughter, and she hasn't been on every vacation with us, but we try and take her on. She's now she can claim to be an adult. She's 19 years old, but sometimes in a lot of ways she's still a child to us. But yeah, even now we try and find ways that she can go with us, even if it's like a work trip that's kind of a work vacation type of thing. Because we think that experiences, we've always been the type of family that we'd rather spend money on experiences over things because those last longer. Honestly, yeah, you might have a thing and it might last a while, but we like things that fill your heart, your soul, and your mind, right? So
Right.
that those are real treasures to us. So that's why we try and share those with our family. So I'm sure that's kind of the same intent with you.
Right. Right.
Um, Next question: if you could spend a day doing absolutely anything you wanted, no work involved, what would it look like?
Well, I'll tell you what we did on Sunday
Okay.
is we had absolutely no plans. And we called our youngest daughter up and said, "Hey, do you mind if we come over and help you kind of clean out one of the rooms? They had bought a new house, that we
Mm,
can help you kind of clean up that room. And you guys both work during the week, and we can help you get that room set up the way you want it." And they were like, "Oh, you would do that?
wow.
Really?" So, it's helping those, and especially family,
Mm.
they're busy, they're working, they don't have the energy sometimes at the end of the day to start tackling a whole new room that you've just moved in and there's boxes and whatever. Well, more hands makes the work lighter.
Yeah, so let's sit here just for a second because I want to talk about this from I love that that's what you love to do, like serving others, like Profitable Christian Business Podcast, right? As business owners, it's all about how we serve others, but often we get paid for when we serve others. But with just using that intent in our lives entirely, like not just from a business aspect, but how can we serve our family? How can we serve strangers even, right? I think that is huge. So I applaud you for that.
Well, they loved it as well.
Nice, nice. Um, let's circle back to traveling because you had just mentioned that. What's the most memorable place you've ever traveled to?
When our oldest daughter she's Navy, when she was
Mm,
stationed in Guam, she actually said, "Why don't you guys find a time to come over and we'll go scuba diving?"
mm,
Because we're all scuba divers,
hmm.
right? So my youngest daughter went ahead of us and got certified in scuba diving in Guam, so that when we came over, my oldest daughter, my youngest daughter, our middle daughter was getting her graduate degree. She couldn't take the time off. But the four of us then literally went to Palau, which is an
Mm.
island nation, one of the top five destinations in the world,
Oh,
for various reasons. But we did a week vacation scuba diving in Palau, and it
wow.
was able to be shared with two of our three kids, and it was just this absolutely incredible vacation you would never schedule on your own, but we could do this with two of our three kids.
Nice. I'm not a scuba diver. I've done the snorkeling a long time ago, but I imagine it's really exciting. Did you see any like whales, turtles, sharks, anything like that while you're underneath the
Well,
water?
the really interesting thing about Palau is it's an island nation of 75 islands along a 150-mile kind of arc that has an atoll that surrounds all of that area, and everything in that atoll, which used to be above water and some of it
Mm.
sunk and the islands are still above, is protected territorial waters.
Oh,
So no fishing.
oh,
So it
wow.
is literally an absolute marine playground. So you see manta rays,
Oh, wow.
you see conch running on the bottom of the ocean. You see things that you would go to a destination to see just that one thing, but you're seeing multiple of those types of underwater sea life. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I have regrets right now because it was I was supposed to we went to Hawaii this past summer and I was they were supposed to go on a boat trip and swim with the giant manta rays, like the giant ones.
Right.
Um and at night and it was supposed to be so cool, like you could touch them and but due to torrents, weather, something like that, they canceled it was the day before we left, so there was no
Mm.
chance to reschedule it and I was so bummed out because that's something I really wanted to do, but that would be super cool. So Guam, putting that on my list over here.
Guam and Palau.
Palau. Yeah, nice. So I'm going to be go back, take me back to grade school. Where is Guam located in the world?
You're south of Japan, you're north of the Philippines, and you are northwest of the Marshall Islands. So you're in this kind of upper Pacific area and very close to Guam. I believe it's on its off its eastern shore, or its eastern shoreline, is the Marianas Trench, which
Mm.
is the deepest part of the Pacific Ocean.
Wow.
So my daughter, in her work in Guam, was a helicopter pilot. And part of what you do in Guam as a helicopter military pilot is you are not only the Navy, you are also the Air Force because they were stationed on Anderson Air Force Base, but you are also search and rescue and
Mm.
you are medical evacuation. So you do a lot of things, and the native people to Guam, many of them don't swim, which sounds really
Huh.
ironic and unusual, but they'll go out onto the reef and they'll fish. But if a rogue wave comes in and washes them out to sea, they can't swim. And so if a raft of people, for instance, a storm comes up and a host of people, like on rafts or swimming, uh, floaties, get taken out to sea, Guam is in the middle of nowhere.
Hmm.
There's hundreds of miles that before you get to another island. So the the Navy would get called to do search and rescue. And some of the most rewarding things that my daughter would do would be they would go out and sometimes search for a couple hours, but they would be able to recover and bring back. And their biggest was a party of, I think, six or eight that they found 10 miles out and still going out.
Oh,
And they were able to bring all of these kids, young adults, back to Guam and reunite them with their family.
wow. Wow. Yeah, and I think about was it they called it the Marianas Trench? Is that how?
Right. Right.
Like there are species I think that they're still discovering that because we can only go down so far. We only have the technology to go down so far. Um, but it's really fascinating that there's life on our planet that we may not even recognize yet. So
Right.
that's super super cool. And I think Guam, now that I think about it, now it's all coming back to me. I think there was it was strategic place in World War II, if I remember correctly.
Correct.
Yeah.
The Japanese had actually interned the population into caves in the interior of the island, and the U.S. was able to come in and liberate the native population and defeat and kick out the Japanese, and it was able to therefore restore Guam back to its people.
Yeah. Wow. Nice. Well, you didn't know. I think we're talking a little bit of science. We're talking a little bit of history here. We haven't even touched really on medicine yet. Wait, this is, this is like a college class right here. So get ready. Um, my next question is our fill in the blank question. And your fill in the blank question is, as a Christian entrepreneur, I believe the key to success is blank.
Acknowledging the where does our success come from?
Oh,
And
mm-hmm.
we think that yes, we've gone to school, we have trained, we have experimented, we have put models of success into what we do with our work, but ultimately, where does that come from?
Yeah. Um, I don't believe in luck. I believe in God's hand is in everything. Like
Right.
the reason you have that opportunity is because he gave it to you, right? So,
Correct.
um, yeah, and the reason even the growing season, I'll call it, right? He puts us through things so that we can grow. They may not be unpleasant while we're in them, but in hindsight, often when we look back, it's like we have some gratitude and thankful, maybe not for the pain, but for what we were able to come from out of that. So,
Well,
um,
many times we learn the lesson better when we've had to struggle to
yeah,
get to learn the lesson.
yeah. Yeah, so so true. The next question is our other staple question of I'm about to say the entrepreneur journey. I'm having flashbacks to the old podcast, to the profitable Christian business. So what is the secret to optimal health and feeling 15 to 20 years younger than your age?
It's all about respecting the root cause. Many times, what patients will experience is a symptom, or they will simply come in and go, I don't feel good. Where do you start with a
Hmm.
statement like that? Well, you have to start at the foundation of what health really is. And so, in the world of optimal health, I want you to think of it like four legs of a chair. And those are the four foundational hormone groups that male and female have. It's unique to the human species, but yet not unique to male versus female. The only
Mm.
unique part of it is that women have two more hormones in their sex hormone leg of the chair, but we all have thyroid, we all have adrenal, and we all have pancreas.
Mm.
So the hormones that are made in those four foundational organs really comprise the foundation of everything that happens in our health. So if one of those legs is out of balance with the other three, but you sit down on that health chair, what's going to happen? It's wobbly,
Mm.
and you notice it's wobbly, but you don't know why. If you break that leg from too much of it going off the direction it should be, you're going to land on the floor.
Mm.
You don't even know how you got there.
Mm.
So, but that puts extra stress on the other three hormone groups because they're going to want to help like good
Mm.
siblings.
Mm.
And so they put extra stress to try to help out that strained or broken leg. Well, that may break a second leg, which puts extra stress
Mm.
on the two remaining, and so on and so on. So when someone would say, I don't feel good, and you could do the blood work to check those four foundational hormones, you may find all four legs are broken.
Mm.
Wow, no wonder they've got what seems like every symptom in the book. So, how do you even attack that? It seems like a behemoth task. Well, really, your task is simple. Go to your four hormone groups. Think of going to your basement. You've got a crack in the wall in the kitchen and it's making the window not close square. So you've got a draft and it's causing problems, in other areas in the kitchen. Do you call a repairman to repair the crack in the kitchen wall? Maybe, but guess what? That crack's going to come back in about 2 months. So what do you do instead? A good carpenter or drywaller will go down into the basement and say, the root of your problem is here.
Mm.
It's in the basement. It's in your foundation. Well, that's what medicine needs to do as well. So be the detective for yourself, be the detective as the healthcare provider, and say, if the problem is you're having poor sleep, is it really because your cortisol is off? Is it really because your female or male hormone is off, causing your cortisol to increase and be stressed? And therefore, you've got two that are stressed, making your thyroid work harder, making your insulin work harder. So it's actually fairly simple if you realize that everything comes down to those four hormone groups.
Wow. This might be a good I might have it in the questions later, but we might just go here now, like because I think this is a great way to allude to going to a specialist versus you go to your general practitioner, if you will, and they say, well, that's better looked at by a specialist. So can we kind of dive into there? I don't know really how we're going to get there, but I know you can help me. How to talk about how a this let's just put it this way, how a specialist can help, but also possibly not see the whole picture.
Well, let's stick with the whole insomnia, poor sleep issue.
Mm. Yep.
Okay. And poor sleep, your primary might hear poor sleep and go, oh, we have to do a sleep study. Oh my
Hmm.
gosh. So a sleep study is ordered. And that, by the way, you can do at home, but you can also do it, quote unquote, in a setting. In a setting, it can cost several $1,000s, but it's looking at all the aspects of how you sleep. You're filmed, you're recorded. Are you snoring? Are you this? Are you that? Are you tossing? Are you turning? And so there can be any number of reasons why poor sleep can happen, right? But at the end of the day, they're going to give you this laundry list of, okay, you turned 10 times in an hour, so there must be back pain, which
Mm.
now means another referral. Oh, for a back pain specialist. Oh, you were snoring, so that must mean you may have polyps and blah, 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 and you may need, to see an ENT doctor, ear, nose, and throat. So that's another referral. So in the Western world of things, it is all about you do a test for a symptom and does it generate more referral testing? And it's all about how the system does very specialized testing to answer a very specific, narrow question. And so my approach would be, gee, you're having trouble sleeping. Okay, why don't we check your cortisol
Mm.
with your other four hormones? Oh, I see you have a lot of really high stress going on in your job. See, your cortisol is really, really high. Let's support that cortisol so we bring it down. But you see how that's pushing your insulin up? This
Mm.
insulin is going to make you pre-diabetic because now you're altering your eating habits.
Mm.
And you follow where I'm going?
Mhm.
So, and that's causing your thyroid to overact or underact. You're stressing your thyroid. So now you are pushing your thyroid potentially into needing to take iodine, or you may end up on thyroid medication. But now we're talking about your foundation. So let's say we check your cortisol, put you on some methylated B vitamins, which supports your adrenal, brings your cortisol down. And if that's all we do, and you report back, wow, doc, I'm sleeping better. That's a miracle. All it took was vitamins. Wow. Well, you can order vitamins online or go to the vitamin store, but you've now not done the sleep study. You've not been referred to ENT. You've not been referred. You follow where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
So the approach comes back down to what is the potential root cause instead of squirrel, squirrel, squirrel,
Yep.
chase, 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 which is what the present Western allopathic model does. It works well for the Western medicine practitioners and systems, but it doesn't work so well for the patient who may have a high deductible and they're spending, spending before their insurance kicks in. And they don't know anything more when they're done, except, gee, I had a sleep problem. They never really gave me an answer. ENT did a rotor-root. I'm still snoring at night. So I'm not sure what I gained from that
Mm.
experience. I know what I lost, a lot
Mhm.
of money.
Okay. Oh, I'm glad you just hit on money because I want to go there. And you talked about Western medicine. So there are some companies out there, I'm sure, even on the Western side, that are about the science and actually helping someone. Like, what's the quickest path to help someone? And then there are others that are on the other side that's like, how can we help this person but make the most amount of money, right? Do you care to dive into that a little bit?
Well, there are, let me put it this way. I'll start it this way, or I'll answer it this way. As of January of 2024, 77% of physicians in this country were employed,
Hmm.
which means they worked for a hospital or for an insurance company. And what most people don't realize is if you're employed, you have a boss,
Mhm.
and the boss answers to shareholders.
Mhm.
And so if you, as the doc, say, gee, you've got insomnia, I want to actually check your hormone levels, the system goes, the boss goes, oh, that doesn't make us any money. And
Mhm.
you realize you have a quota. You have a
Mhm.
quota of so many referrals a month you have to do to specialists. So if you do a referral to sleep study and you do a referral to ENT, you've knocked two referrals off of your list of quota for the month.
Mhm.
And that's the route we need you to go because those specialists are going to bring in more profit to the system
Mhm.
than you just doing blood work. So we're not going to let you do that blood work.
Mm.
And
Wow.
most people hear that and go, really? That happens? Yes,
Yeah, and
that.
I believe there's a big quandary and debate about, about socialized medicine. There are countries that have socialized medicine, such as Canada, versus really what is capitalized medicine here. Um, I I think there's pros and cons on each side, right? Um,
Correct.
People in socialized medicine, they talk about how long the wait is and how sometimes the care isn't what it should be. Um, so I don't know if you have any experience with socialized medicine, but if you want to talk about that in comparison.
Well, minimal experience, except to say that in many cases, there are protocols that are written that you have to follow that protocol. So I don't know what their protocol is for insomnia, but most of the time, if it's going to involve a sleep specialist, there's a waiting list, as you
Mm.
alluded to,
Hmm.
that you now have to wait in line for that waiting list. And they won't offer two specialists at the same time because they're going to wait for the response of one
Mm.
to come back to assess whether or not it makes sense in their system to now say, well, we didn't get the answer we were looking for. So now we'll explore this one. They usually have a very stringent protocol of what they're going to do. And beyond that, they'll simply say, well, the easiest thing for us to do is let's write a sleeping pill for you. Let's
Mm.
make sure that you do things like shut off your screen at night, which are all still, lifestyle changes and getting rid of a lot of light and stimuli before you go to bed. Those are all good things to do, and they're very inexpensive things to do. But many times you're past a lot of that. You've done a lot of that, and you now need answers because you've drilled down and it's a root cause that's actually being impacted, that's perpetuating your insomnia. It's not that it's a new insomnia problem that, you're suddenly
Mm.
tasked with how do I find the answer to. It's an old chronic issue and diagnosis of insomnia that you really have to dig deeper to find.
Nice. Thanks for tuning into today's episode.
As a Christian entrepreneur, we want to give you something for free. If you go to clientsforthekingdom.com, we have an ideal client avatar generator on there for free. It's something that we've spent thousands of dollars on, countless hours out, and building out this structure of showing you who your ideal client avatar is and an offer stack that can work for your business.
Enjoy the rest of the episode. I want to pivot a little bit to where you're a specialist in, and that is in these bioidentical hormones. So, what's the most highest misconception people have, and how do you address it around hormones?
Well, first, a lot of people don't understand what bioidentical hormone means. And it is biologically identical hormone to what your human body makes. So that sounds counterintuitive or intuitive if you want to think about it, because people are many times not prescribed bioidentical, they're prescribed synthetic
Mm-hmm.
hormone. And so people say, well, hormone is hormone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, not necessarily. Okay. So, and the sex hormones, male and female, are actually one of those legs of a chair. So that is hugely important to how the rest of your body functions. So if I can explain it this way to guys, if your testosterone is not appropriate level for your age, are you going to potentially notice that?
Mm.
And every guy's going to go, yeah, absolutely. Because there actually is a curve for where male hormone for your age needs to be appropriate to balance out the other three hormone groups. So my question to a patient who would come in and see me, they would bring their hormone levels if they were lucky enough to have had them done. And I'll just give you an example. Um, I had a 35-year-old come in and he said, Doc, I come home from work. I am so tired. I hit the couch and I fall asleep. I sleep through dinner. I sleep through helping my kids with their homework. It's 10 o'clock at night. My wife wakes me up. She's angry because I haven't
Mm,
been able to do anything to help around the house. I slog myself up to bed. I sleep hard all night. I get up in the morning. I'm just as tired as when I got home from work the night before. What's wrong? And meanwhile, he's been living on energy drinks, and you can
mm,
imagine what he's putting in his body to try to keep himself going during the day. So I said, your T is low. Well, I had my doctor check my testosterone level, and he said I'm good.
mm,
Well, here's the fallacy that most people are never told is when labs are done, there's a reference range, right? If you're in the reference range, you're good. If you're out of the reference range, oh, we have a problem, right? That's the American medical system.
mhm.
Okay. And newsflash, most docs never see the levels. They let their staff, their
Mm,
nurses, take a look at it and then tell them where the numbers are. So then they relay that message on to the patient. But what if I said to you, your testosterone level that was drawn, you're 35, but your level is that of a 70-year-old man. You're in normal range,
mm,
but are you okay with that? No, no, doc, I'm not. I'm not
mm.
okay with that. What do we do about that? That's the better interpretation of the lab test. It's not, are you within range? It's, are you optimal for the curve for your age? Are you age appropriate?
Yeah.
Same with women and their hormone levels. And women have a little more complexity to their one leg of their chair because they need to be more female than male. Gee, that sounds like a silly statement, doesn't it? Right? But they also have to be balanced in their female. So you've got a few issues you have to co-manage at the same time with women's hormone levels. And just like men, a 20-year-old doesn't want levels of a 45-year-old woman, right?
Right, right.
That's not going to work. And if you have imbalance in the female, you're actually prone to cancers that are going to develop 5, 10, 15, 20 years
Wow.
down the road.
Wow. It's one thing I want to point out here is God's intricate design that He has made us, right? Um, we are not simple, simple beings. We have so much going on in our bodies, in our minds. It is just amazing. Um, I lost my train of thought of my next thing I was going to ask. Oh, so let's talk about nutrition and how can we dive into this a little bit, how that affects hormones and like what are some maybe even some practical things that people can take into consideration when it comes to nutrition and their hormones?
Well, we've all heard about the food pyramid. We've
Mhm.
all heard there are three major food groups. What we don't know is that genetically, we're set up to work best on, some people work best on a high carb diet.
Mm,
Some people work best on a high lipid diet. Some people work best on a high protein diet. Some people work best with a blend of all of them being equal or some such variation of that. But you can do a cheek swab test and determine and find out what your genetics, how your genetics want you to eat. So that's number one. And that's like, wow,
hmm
really? Well, no wonder a keto doesn't work for
mm,
me
hmm
because you may not genetically be set up for a high lipid diet to work for you. You may actually gain weight because you cause inflammation in your GI tract, which means you don't absorb much of anything. And you're causing problems when you think you're trying to solve them. But the other part of nutrition is what are you putting in and how often are you putting it in? So, one of the fads these days is intermittent fasting.
hmm
Well, occasional intermittent fasting is okay, but what nobody ever tells you is that when you fast more than 12 hours, and 12 hours, if you think about when you eat dinner at night to when you eat breakfast in the morning, is relatively a 12-hour time frame, right?
hmm
So, if you go more than 12 hours, your brain needs something to function on. And so what intermittent fasting teaches is you will break down fat because there's no sugar in your system. Therefore, you will break fat stores. Well, that's not quite what happens. Oh,
Okay.
well, what happens?
You're just to let you know, I'm interested in hearing this because I am doing some intermittent fasting. So my ears are pe perked up.
Well, when you go more than 12 hours, what your body really does is it says the boss, your brain, needs sugar now. It needs to be stimulated. We've got to
Mm-hmm.
get the brain going. So your body has this decision. What do we break down? Now, if the boss needs it fast, are you going to go the slow route of taking 7 kilocalories of energy to break down fat? Or are you going to go the fast route and deliver it fast to the boss by using only 4 kilocalories of energy to break down the glycogen stores in your muscle that you just spent yesterday at the gym building up?
Mm-hmm.
Gee, which way is your body going to go? The muscular route.
Wow.
It's faster, it's low hanging fruit, and boom. So but however, you don't have a filter for how much sugar you dump into your bloodstream. So, how do I know that? Because when I would check fasting blood work on patients, and I would check their 4 hormone groups, but I would check their fasting blood sugar. If they went more than 12 hours, a fasting blood sugar should be under 99. Theirs would come in at 105, 108, 115. It would be high. And we'd repeat it a second time, and I'd say, pay attention to no more than 12 hours, and their blood sugar would be under 99. Well, that's me knowing that.
Mm-hmm.
What does a regular doc get told by the nursing staff? Oh, their blood sugar is elevated. It's in the red. Oh, that means you're pre-diabetic. Well, we
Mm-hmm.
may repeat this once, but you never hear you have to go no more than 12 hours. So you do your same routine, you repeat it again, it's elevated, and suddenly you're put on diabetic medication and you're sent to a dietitian, and all of a sudden, you've got this label on you that you go, I'm not diabetic or even pre-diabetic. So I go
Mm-hmm.
back to what I do. Besides my fasting insulin, or a fasting blood sugar, I've done a fasting insulin level, one of those 4 main
Mm-hmm.
hormone groups. So if their blood sugar is elevated, but their insulin is good, then I know it went more than 12 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And when I ask them, they go, well, yeah, it was 16 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's why your sugar's high. So you're not pre-diabetic, but you realize what intermittent fasting is doing is you are training your pancreas to pump out more insulin, to take that elevated blood sugar, and what your brain isn't going to use, you're going to store as fat. What? So you're actually converting glycogen in muscle that you don't use to fat.
Wow. I'm just gonna talk about my personal experience a little bit here with because I've been doing intermittent fasting for about this is not seeing a doctor, not talking to any medical professional. So for the last 2 months, I would say. So basically, I will eat like probably the latest I eat is 8 o'clock at night, and then I won't eat again till noon the next day. Um, and I say eat, I drink coffee, right?
Mm.
So it's not a true fast. My body is getting something in that, but I have lost since I've been doing that, I've lost 2 pant sizes. Um, so I don't feel like I've lost any energy. And in ways I feel like I have more energy. So um I guess just speak to my personal experience.
Well, you probably don't have a large BMI. In other
Okay.
words, you don't have a large amount of fat store on you versus muscular. You're probably relatively balanced
Hmm.
glycogen store versus fat. So we know that if you blow through your glycogen store, you will then go to your fat store. So that will be an exception of
Mm.
what will work for you until you get to the point where your muscular store may give you some problems because you compromised it.
Oh.
And right, right. So what I usually tell people is it's okay to occasionally intermittent fast, maybe pick 2 days a week.
Hmm.
But then the rest of the time, I would tell you not. That doesn't mean that that you have full meals.
Hmm.
You may have very small balanced snacks. But the point is everyday intermittent fast is usually not a sustainable long-term longevity plan,
Okay.
not for your
Nice.
body. Hmm.
Nice. Nice. Um, so I want to go back to it's not a question, but really just an insight, not even insight. It's just what I saw. So I picked up on what you're talking about, the different diets, how some people it works good, like a keto it will work great for them, or there's all been like 10 different type of diets out there, but um I even in what my wife can eat versus what I can eat. Granted, she's female and I'm male, but at the same time, like I do, like I can eat more beef than she can. Like her stomach will get upset if she eats a
Hmm.
certain amount of beef. It's just very interesting, like how our bodies, we're all individuals, and I think just go back to the food pyramid. That was too simplistic for us, really, as it's too much of a blanket statement for everybody because we are all unique individuals. Our bodies operate differently. So I love that you brought that up, and I think anybody listening should take that account. Like if you're doing a keto diet or something like that, and maybe you have a friend like they're on the keto diet, they're doing great, but you seem to be struggling with it. This could be the reason is because you have a different makeup than they do. So,
Right, right. And there are people that are vegan and they're miserable
hmm.
because their brain is always in brain fog because they need more protein than what a vegan diet is able to give them for the most part. Yet there are people that will go on to a keto diet and they'll be miserable because they gain weight and they are feeling bloated all the time. And their brain fog is that they're actually not converting enough carbohydrate because it's all keto for them. They're converting nothing for their brain to work off of. So it's no one diet works for everybody. And that's really the key. And there are wellness platforms. And again, you can do cheek swab testing to find out. You can follow um, different calorie counts. And we all know that there were the Weight Watchers of the world that basically were debunked because it's not just diet and exercise. Sometimes it is in pre-diabetics in particular, is where you've stressed your insulin too hard. Is there now a reset of how you're stimulating certain hormonal signals in the body? In the brain? Are
Hmm.
you telling your satiety hormone that you're not full soon enough? So you
Hmm.
keep eating, even though you know I
Hmm.
shouldn't be eating this much, but I'm still hungry. Well,
Hmm.
you need a reset of that satiety hormone. And that's something that in the natural world of medicine, chromium picolinate can do.
Hmm.
You don't need an Ozempic or you don't need
Hmm.
something along that line. But yet we're a pharmaceutical
Hmm.
based country of medicine and field of medicine. We don't like to hear natural methods. We want to hear we can charge X amount because now we have control of something that we can make a profit with. So it's all in understanding the problem first. The first place to go is go to the root of the problem. And if you're having trouble figuring out that you're not full yet, that's your satiety hormone. And that's what a good doc will help you figure out. Oh, you're not feeling hungry. You just keep.
You froze. Oh no. You're back. We're going to
Oh,
edit that. There was a little freeze there. So if you're watching live, I don't know, you probably saw the freeze, but my internet it says my internet connection is unstable, so maybe it's me. But anyway, we'll pick up and we'll edit this in recording. But I think we caught the I think I caught the end of that as you were saying it. Um,
Mhm.
so now I want to go. I want to get a little deeper, and we talked about the medical stuff. We've talked about science and history and all that good stuff. Now let's talk about faith. You like last time we talked, you shared something really. I felt privileged for you to share that with me. I'm not sure if you're open to sharing about it on the podcast, but um, I want to talk about kind of your faith journey and some of the things that you went through lately. So. Um, I'm not even sure what question I want to ask here, but can you talk a little bit about some experiences that you've had recently along your faith journey?
Well, little emotion will come in here. Sorry, but we lost our middle daughter, and it was a mental health struggle that she had. She was
Mm,
seeing professionals.
mm,
She was doing all the right things. My science-based PhD in nutritional sciences was, I feel, failed by the medical system
mm,
because what the medical system does with mental health is they say, well, we're going to diagnose you with this diagnosis, which means these pharmaceuticals. And we don't know enough about what happens in this space in our body. We think we know, but we really don't know what we should know. It's really a guessing game of, I think it's this diagnosis, therefore we're going to try this medicine. Oh, that didn't work. We're going to up the dose. Oh, that didn't
mm,
work. Well, then let's add this. And it becomes this chicken soup
mm,
of options that are chemical, and there's very minimally accepted ways to study what's actually going on in that brain. So we did lose her in June. It was devastatingly hard because I'm the doc, I'm the mom.
mm,
I should have the answer. And for everyone I could help, I couldn't help my own daughter. And that is a really hard lesson.
yeah. Um, I, Again, I'm sorry for your loss.
Thank you.
It oh, it's heavy. I don't even know what direction I want to go with this, but mental health, I and the whole pharmaceutical industry. I You mentioned chicken soup, but um chicken soup to me is nourishing, whereas what probably they were giving her was not um helping. Um
Yeah, it was, open up the pharmaceutical cabinet and start with this, throw this in, and it was more like an experimental stew. Um, and was it helping? Was it making a difference? Um, at times we thought yes, at times we thought no. Um, but yet there was never really a diagnosis that we were working with. And therefore, how do you treat something where you don't have a root cause to go to? Um, and I would suggest, and this was part of my frustration with what my lesson to be learned, I would suggest let's do blood work. And
mhm,
she would say, I need you to be my mom,
mm,
not my doctor. So you honor that and you let them do it their way.
mhm,
She, at 35, was her own woman.
mhm.
She literally felt she was doing the right things, but it was a very difficult lesson. to learn.
Yeah, but I don't think you should. I feel like the regret that you're probably feeling, but you honored her by being what she needed most at that time, um,
Correct.
which I don't think you should have any guilt over that. Um, can we talk about how your I'm sure there was some spiritual stuff going on at this time, like your relationship with God. Are you willing to talk about that a little bit?
Sure. You of course ask God why. And if you are a traditional Christian, you have the Western rules and man-made rules that are, there's a reason, it was their time, their mission was done.
Mm.
Um, but it is it is difficult yet to understand because here was someone poised in the world of research and public health and outreach. She went to Ethiopia to help the population of Ethiopia with their soil. She
Wow.
went to Panama. She went to Mexico. She went places to help people learn how to manage their nutritional needs with what they had. And so there, what is the reason that she was taken early? Maybe her work was done. It causes you to do a lot of questioning, which, you know, we know he's almighty. We
Hmm.
know he has this plan. Was his plan with her that she had fulfilled it?
Hmm.
That's not for us to know, but for us to speculate, which we're human. That's why we speculate. But what did we learn from it is she did a lot of good
Hmm.
in this world. And we know that she worked with a Latinx community center, set up community gardening as a program for them, set up outreach with them, set up grant money for them to do a lot of the programming they were doing. And she made a difference.
Yeah, I was just talking to, and I think a lot of when we have loss, I lost my mother not that long ago, is that um we we have to realize that this life on here is nothing compared to the life on the other side. And we have to know that they are in a much better place. And if she was going through mental struggles, she is a much better place for sure now, right? Because
Oh, for sure.
she was in pain.
Right,
And now she's not suffering anymore.
right.
Um,
And we keep her husband close,
yeah.
and he is very much of the same mindset that family first.
Hmm.
And so he honors his family, but he will still honor us and be with us when we do family. We do a weekly family Zoom, and he will join us for that weekly family Zoom. And he will come for family events that happen here. We will go to events to see him. And so there are, that is our expanded family is he, and I said this to him soon after everything happened. I said, like it or not, you are still part of this family. So please understand. You can set the boundaries you need, but please understand that this is what we expect or would like to expect because you don't just walk away from us because we lost your wife, our daughter. You are still part of us.
I want to ask this because I want I feel like there is something to take from and learn from everybody's situations and struggles that they go through. Do you have anything like that you feel like you could pass on to anyone that's watching or listening now of like that may have gone through a loss as well, and like how um whether it's encouragement or some wisdom that you've gotten from going through it, like anything that you can pass on to the audience from that.
Well, the most important thing that we learned is talk,
Mm,
share, reflect. We went back and found just hundreds of photos. And we ended up, um, we went to the florist to do the flowers for the ceremony, and the florist said, well, showed us the book. We can do this, we can do this. And we went, no, 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 no. This has to be an expression of who she was. Stephanie was about vegetables.
mm,
Her bouquet, her wedding bouquet, and this is the honest to God's truth, was an artichoke heart, kale, and broccolini.
wow.
And that was her bouquet. And her husband's boutonniere was broccolini.
Mm,
And that's just who she was.
mm,
And so we said to the florist, we want wildflowers because she grew wildflowers, but we want those interspersed within a big woven basket that you'd go to market with and put on your
mm,
shoulder. We want a woven basket overflowing with vegetables and
mm.
wildflowers. And the florist was like, oh, this is going to be so much fun. I want to capture her spirit.
Mm,
So it was more about honoring who she is, who she was, what her spirit still is, and what message we take from that. So at her funeral, 35 years young, it's really difficult to bury your kids. Um, the receiving line at church was so long that the priest said to us, you have to walk forward through the receiving line or we're never going to get mass started in time. You know, um, and people were still coming up to us as we were, putting her ashes in the hearse to go to the gravesite. They were still coming up to us afterwards. We never got through the receiving line, but we want to say
mm,
hello.
mm.
And when we went to Madison for where they lived for having her reception there where they lived, it was held in the center, the Latinx center that she
Mm.
volunteered at.
Wow.
Unbeknownst to us, the director of the Latinx Center took care of all expenses.
Wow.
So when at the end of the evening, we took out our checkbook and said, okay, what do we owe you for the food? We ordered blah, blah, blah. What do we, owe for the place? And she just said, taken care of.
Yeah, it's your daughters did a lot of good, and I think it's such a blessing to look back and see all the people that she touched during her lifetime.
Correct.
It's
Correct.
it's it's you did good. You did good. Um, even though she was only with us for that short time, you um she seemed like she was a light to people, and that
Yes. Yes. And she literally was the kind of person that she entered a room and everyone picked up her energy. That's the kind of person that she was. And she was the organizer. Okay, we're going to do this. Okay, who wants to do this? Okay, oh, you're looking my way. That means you want to do this, right? And she would
hmm
just draw people to her, and she could accomplish whatever she set her mind to.
Yeah.
So she was a great example of serving.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know that was hard. And it's going to seem like an odd transition now to transition to anything else. But I hope that whoever's listening can get some encouragement from like have how you went through it, or could and just like I just have some peace if they can. It's hard for anyone that loses anyone to have peace, but I wanted to say seek the Lord, right? He's our greatest comforter. He's our greatest comforter. So
He is, and I feel that he needed her there
mhm.
more than he needed her here.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I totally see that for sure. Um, I don't know how else to do it, but we're going to transition to like how can people find out more about you and how. Oh no, I want to ask this question. Let's transition fully because I didn't get to ask this question. So, we talked earlier. We alluded to at the very top about solopreneurs and companies with 50 or around 50 employees or less. Can we talk about how what you do helps the solopreneur and how what you do helps the company with 50 employees or less?
Oh, well, thank you for asking that. Yes, I'm transitioning now to business healthcare consulting, which sounds like a weird title, right? What does that mean? Well, what I was so successful doing with individual patients, helping them sort out the root cause of what is going on with them and not letting the Western system intervene and kind of uh, take them in the wrong direction is what if the employer can do this for his employees
Mm,
or the solopreneur can do this for himself? The last thing you need as an employer or solopreneur is that a health issue takes you off track.
mhm,
Because when a health issue presents itself to you, the last thing you need is your company gets derailed or this department gets derailed because you have a business plan and you have other people depending on that business plan, other employees, your family. And so if you can reproduce that same system for your most valued employees, including yourself, then that is the best preventive health care that you can do to stay not only healthy and feeling 15 to 20 years younger because you've gotten to the root cause and you're doing more prevention, but you're also saving money
mhm,
because this is going to be like preventive maintenance on your car. You're not going to be paying that expensive fix down the road, and you're going to be doing the front end work that keeps the system rolling, the business moving, your health where you want it to be. And health is something we take for granted until we don't have it.
mhm,
And so we all think, well, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll do that next week. But then next week might be that you wake up in the middle of the night with that sudden crushing chest discomfort and you go, oh no. And you're faced with a catastrophic event that what if you could have done some of the preventive work ahead of time and that never happens. So that's what business healthcare consulting is about is how can I implement this system of doing the foundational work? How can I put that in place? And what it means is doing the right blood work so that everyone gets the same blood work done. Everyone gets the same tips of, I don't want you here in the reference range. I want you here.
mhm,
So if that can happen across your entire employee spectrum, it can happen to your C-suite, it can
mhm.
happen to you, then what's wrong with being in your optimal health and feeling 15 to 20 years younger?
Yeah, I'm gonna stick on that word optimal, because most business owners were like, how does this affect my bottom line, right? And I really want to go back comparing Western medicine. I wish insurance companies covered more preventive and before the fact things rather than so heavy on the other side because we would have less of those things on if we did the preventive. So it I wish that's how our medical system was designed that they covered a lot more of the preventive stuff than a lot of them do.
Well, they wrongfully, and I don't think it's nefarious, but who knows, they interchange prevention with screening.
Hmm.
Now, if you think about it, prevention means you're not letting it happen in the first place. You're
Hmm.
mitigating the factors that cause it to happen in the first
Hmm.
place. Okay. Screening means that you're looking for something early, which
Hmm.
means it's already there.
Yeah.
So you haven't prevented anything. So look at mammogram.
Hmm.
You're looking for an abnormality. So that's screening. Okay. And then when you have the bad mammogram, then all of a sudden everything's, kicks into place. But
Hmm.
now you're fighting the issue that's already started. You haven't done the work to prevent it from happening in the first place.
Yeah.
So colonoscopy is the same thing,
Mm.
looking for a structural problem, but that means the horse is out of the barn.
Hmm.
It's already happened. And so now you're doing damage control. And that's what Western medicine mistakenly calls preventive medicine. They don't they don't really understand that what they're doing is screening.
Yeah.
They're not preventing.
Yeah. We could just hope and pray that it changes at some point, but I'm not sure that it will. Uh, but let's go back to the word optimal real quick, and talk about how this affects a business. So, first of all, your employees will be less sick days, right? Um,
Correct.
they will be higher energy, being more productive. Um, so when you think about, and then they will you like and they'll spend less time in the hospitals, not just sick days, but they won't be going to the hospitals. So they're like having a health consultant on the front end, on the preventive side, um, really will affect your business in a great way. And if you're a solopreneur, if you go down, everything goes down, right? So take this into high consideration. We're going to put all the information. What information do you want me to provide to everyone at the bottom, whether it's in the show notes or wherever they can check out below this video or on the audio?
Well, and I can put in the chat what my contact email is, which might be the best and easiest way for people that are looking for specific information about their um, issues and what specifically their concerns
Hmm.
are, and if there may be something I can do to help. And so, in particular, I do a 30-minute free consult to anybody interested to give them an idea. They can tell me what they have as an issue or potential problem going on and what my solution in trying to help them would look like. But in particular, it's going to be addressing it the same way for all of your employees, is looking at the foundation. And so it's doing the same blood work across the board for all of your employees, which means nothing gets missed. And so I'm not saying don't take that blood work result back to your doctor, but if your doctor isn't normally doing that blood work, they may not know what to do with it. So that's again where I come in, because I have the unique position of being able to say, okay, I can talk to all of your employees at once on a Zoom, and
Hmm.
I can tell them the principles of here's how you take charge. All of you have your blood work in front of you. You're now HIPAA compliant. I'm not seeing it.
Hmm.
Only you see it. But I'm going to tell you, okay, look at this insulin level, and this is where I want you. And if you're not here, then here's how you get there. Let's look at now your cortisol level. Here's the reference range, but here's where I want you. And if you're not here, here are the tricks to get there.
Hmm.
And so I'm not prescribing anything. What I'm doing is I'm giving those helpful tips that are the preventive tips that keep people from needing to go to the next level, which may mean a test or a script or something worse. So that's the approach that I use. But let me give a quick example. I had given the insomnia example. Let me give one more is, let's say you've got a patient that says, or an employee that says, oh, I've got such reflux. I eat lunch and I spend the next 2 hours, I can't concentrate on work. I need to go see, my doc. Well, in the Western allopathic world, what the primary will do is say, well, that sounds like a GI problem. Yeah,
Hmm.
acid reflux, right? So I need to send you to the referral doc, the gastroenterologist. So now you've taken a half day off to go to the gastroenterologist, okay? The gastroenterologist is the second half day, so it's now a full day off work.
Hmm.
And you may have heard at one or both doc's offices, well, this could be cancer,
Hmm.
which is now going to sit as a little seed germinating in your brain. You know it's not.
Hmm.
This is a recent problem, but it's sitting there now, germinating. So they say, well, we have to scope you from above and below to make
Hmm.
sure that there's no cancer there. So you take a day off for the prep, you take a day off for both scopes. And if you have a $10,000 deductible, you're spending 5,000 of your own money for the scope from above, 5,000 from below. You've taken 3 days off work. You may only get 5 days vacation. You take another half day to go back and find out what are the results of my scopes, doc. Oh, everything looks good. Well, then why am I having all this reflux? I don't know. I'll send you back to your primary. So you've wasted 4 days and you've spent $10,000 out of your own pocket. And you are no further ahead and you know nothing more about your acid reflux than before you went. So that employee is going to think in his head, well, I don't have any vacation days left. I'm $10,000 poorer than where I was before I started, but I can make $1 an hour more down the street if I go to work for ABC Industries instead of this guy because I'm not making enough here. So they displace their anger at the medical
Hmm.
system back onto their employer. And that's the last thing that employer needs is a loyal employee thinking they've been wronged and now they jump ship and you've got to replace that employee and retrain somebody and do they fit the culture of everybody they're working with or not? And you know the drill. So that's going to that's going to have an impact on employee or profitability for the
Hmm.
corporation. And then you start dissent among the rest of the employees.
Hmm.
So doing a concerted approach where you value your employees by saying, okay, we're going to use our HSA fund and we're going to have the same blood work ordered on all 50 of you. You're all getting the same blood work. And our consultant's going to come in and she's going to do, half hour, 45-minute present on Zoom. We'll give that to you as company time. And you're all going to learn what you do to take charge of that blood work.
Wow. Yeah,
That's a powerful message.
it is. Speaking of powerful message, think about it from if you are a Christian business owner, um, what we're here to take care of people, right? And what better way to take care of people than offer them something like what Victoria provides for them, provide for their health, right? Provide for things that prevent things from happening moving forward by getting ahead of all of these things, right? Um, I think that'd be a great testament to you as a Christian business owner to provide this sort of thing to um, your employees because I think it's the right thing to do. So
And your employee keeps the money in their pocket and they keep their vacation days to now spend with their family.
yeah, yeah. So um, thank you again, Victoria. Your email will be below in the show notes or on the video description, however you're listening or watching this podcast. I will. Is there any other way that for people to get a hold of you? Is there a website?
My website is more set up for selling my book and podcasts that I've done and things. So I have not set up a separate page for business healthcare consulting. I'm that new to shifting into that space. So I do have a business healthcare information sheet that I can send directly to any employer or entrepreneur or business owner looking for what exactly do I do so that they
Um,
can look.
Let me
you
ask you
know.
this. Is it possible that, like, would you like to send that to me and I will put that, a link to that in the show notes?
I can certainly do that. Yes,
Okay.
that's a
Okay.
great idea, Doug.
Yeah. That
Thank
way
you.
that they can get the information up front. So that would be awesome. So I'm going to provide that information below. Thank you again, Victoria. It has been wonderful. Thank you for sharing such a deep story, an emotional story, that is a lot. Um, and thank you for pouring into people and serving people, and helping people. That's what we're here to do. Um,
We're here because we're a community,
yeah. Love the Lord your God and love your neighbor, right? That's his highest commandment. So,
right? As
so
yourself. Love them
yep.
as yourself.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. So it definitely is something that you are doing, and I'm so thankful to now call you a friend. So um so until next time, entrepreneurs, keep moving forward. Thanks for checking out the Profitable Christian Business Podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and share.